To talk more about the implications of being allowed to stand your ground, Steven Crowder, Fox News contributor, joins me now. Welcome, Steven. So critics say that this law, Stand Your Ground, encourages vigilante-style justice. In this case, Zimmerman, he wasn't a police officer. He was a self-proclaimed neighborhood watchman. So this law gives people the right to shoot and kill people.
Well, firstly, do you guys have some kind of a scoop on the Trayvon story that I'm not aware of yet? Because last I heard, we haven't seen the case and we don't know what's happened, and Zimmerman hasn't been convicted.
Well, it's hard to know what happened when he's not even arrested.
No, he's not been arrested
yet. You can't even figure out what happened.
If they were in fact defended.
I think the argument that people want this to be brought to justice is that he should be put on trial, that charges should be filed against him, and let the court or let a judge decide whether or not he's guilty.
But that's not really the argument people are bringing here. Just like you guys decided to show the picture of Trayvon Martin, I don't know why the picture is several years old, whereas the Zimmerman picture is only his mugshot. This man hasn't seen a trial. He's been convicted guilty by the American public. You've had Spike Lee and Roseanne Barr publicly tweeting his address. This is not a man who people want to see brought to justice. We don't know what's happened. Listen, I don't know anything about Mr. Zimmerman. I don't know if he was defending himself. We don't know that he shot Trayvon in the back while he was running away. Let's assume for a second that we do have all the facts. He did shoot Trayvon while he was running away in the back. That doesn't really mean that he's a racist. We don't really know enough about that. And I think to confuse the stand your ground law with the Castle Doctrine, too, as done in that report, isn't entirely accurate. I do think what's very, very important here, too, is we do talk about the Florida, I guess, acceptable homicides, as you guys call them, which would really be shooting and self-defense. What's happened to the Florida total violent crime rate since then, or during that same time?
You know, what I do know is also what has increased was so-called justifiable homicide. So, in cases where you're allowed to kill somebody. And
no, it's not where you're allowed to kill somebody. It's where you're allowed to defend yourself. And I think, and that's the perfect point here. If you're a criminal, the thing that scares you the most, and statistically the thing that would scare them the most, is an unarmed citizen who would be a victim all of a sudden is now armed. This idea that victims shouldn't be able to defend themselves, I think is ridiculous. And of course, these people aren't necessarily shooting to try and kill someone. I think people need to understand this dynamic here. The same thing with Mr. Zimmerman. I don't know. I haven't seen the ballistics yet. But when I have a weapon, and most people have weapons, they buy self-defense rounds, okay? A self-defense round is not designed to kill. As a matter of fact, a round you would use to hunt would be a Full Metal Jacket, is designed to pierce organs and kill whatever it is that you're hunting. A self-defense round is used to enter the body cavity and expand, causing more instant central nervous system damage to stop the assailant. You aren't shooting to kill, you're shooting to stop. And listen, shooting somebody...
If you shoot somebody at point blank, you're going to kill them, most likely. If you're going to shoot them in the head or shoot them in the chest, you're going to kill them, and that would be your intent. Well, firstly,
you would never shoot in the head. Anyone who's taken a single concealed carry handgun license will know you never aim for the head. You always aim for body mass. So that's another myth, that you could aim for the heads or aim for the legs that we get from video games in Hollywood. Never. You aim for body mass, and whatever you aim your gun at, you better be damn well sure that you are prepared, ready, and justified to shoot. That is what you are taught. But the act of shooting somebody is not an immoral act. So that's why I think it's important to look at total violent crime rates in Florida versus these, I guess, justifiable homicide, which is the term that you are using. I can shoot somebody to steal his wallet and kill him and leave him in the street, or I can shoot somebody to prevent a rape and murder. Just like money is amoral. You can take $100 and donate it to a charity, or you can take $100 and go buy some drugs off the street. It really depends on your worldview. Would you rather see headlines that read victim shot and tossed in a gutter, or woman raped and left in an alleyway? Or would you rather read a headline that reads would-be victim was armed and managed to defend himself from assailant, get away safely?
But in this case, the victim wasn't armed. He was holding a bag of Skittles and an Arizona iced tea. So in this case, this is a tragic headline. This is a headline that I don't want to read either.
We were just talking about the law. We weren't talking about Trayvon. We were talking about stand your ground law. So to tie that to the Trayvon case, now if we're talking about Trayvon, listen, I don't know. I said, I can't speak for Mr. Zimmerman. I don't know what happened. He may be right. He may be completely wrong. But that doesn't mean that the stand your ground law or the castle laws you would have in Texas, two which are very different things, is inherently wrong. It depends on what we want to discuss. If we want to discuss the details of the Zimmerman-Trayvon case, well, we don't have them yet.
We don't, and I agree with you. We don't have details because he wasn't arrested. He wasn't. We don't know. There's a lot of conflicting reports, a lot of conflicting evidence.
Sure.
I don't know for sure. You don't know for sure. There's a lot of unknowns at this point because a lot of people say it's due to the fact that he wasn't arrested and they just took at face value the fact that he acted in self-defense, and we don't know that. Possibly he did. Possibly he didn't. We don't know that, but one of the more controversial things, Stephen, about this law is that it's a spin-off of the Castle Doctrine, which is a little bit more broad because in that case, if somebody comes into your home, okay, somebody's clearly in your home where you live,
Sure.
your place, so you can defend yourself. Clearly, that person shouldn't be there. But the Stand Your Ground law allows you to take your gun and patrol neighborhoods theoretically and shoot somebody in a public place.
No, it doesn't.
In a public place.
That is not accurate. The Stand Your Ground law does not allow someone to buy a gun and patrol neighborhoods with his gun. The fact that Zimmerman had a concealed handgun carry license, if he did, is not the same as his being part of a neighborhood watch. As a matter of fact, most neighborhood watches do not allow their members to hold guns. The Stand Your Ground law does not say you can run around shooting people. That is not what it says. The Stand Your Ground law says that if you are in a lethal or possibly deadly situation, you do not have to flee and put yourself in a position of being even more of a victim. You are allowed to defend yourself.
But what the law also says, Stephen, is that it doesn't require the person to remove themselves from a dangerous situation. And I would think, I mean, I wouldn't argue that self-defense is a bad thing, but I would think that it should be a last resort, that shooting somebody should be a last resort, and you should try to flee or do something else, not resort to pulling the trigger.
Well, who's to say it isn't? And that's why the law was created, because you can't determine whether it was a last resort or not. You can determine if this person was justified in using lethal or deadly force. And it's not just, oh, as the report said, if you claim self-defense, you're off the hook. That also is not true. So we need to dispel these two myths here about Stand Your Ground law. It is not allowing people to strap themselves with a gun and go around shooting people who they believe to be criminals. That is not allowed, and you do not get off the hook by claiming self-defense. It has to be proven that you were defending yourself and that your actions were justified, and I think that's a good law.
All right, Stephen. Glad to have you on for the debate. That was Stephen Crowder, Fox News contributor.